Hey, leader, welcome back to the Fierce Factor podcast. It's Kaylee here. You're tuning in to episode number 261. I have a bonus episode I'm going to replay for you today, something that I put together back in 2022. It's about 15 minutes of conversation about what happens when you go all in on an employee and they leave. And the reason I wanted to bring this back today is because I think we're in a general uncertain, insecure, impermanent, a very loosely sort of lackluster, confident state of mind right now as a society. And what I'm seeing are people really getting reactive and mostly out of fear. Like, what if I can't pay for that? What if I do this, then this will happen? And I think a lot of it is just uncertainty. And, we're not new to uncertainty, leaders. Like, I just want to remind everybody here, they're growing a business and generally life, right? Like, I teach my kids this. You're going to have ups and downs. It's all about the journey. It's all about you being able to ride the waves. Essentially, the analogy for me in my mind is stop trying to calm the storm, calm yourself, and the storm will pass. And what happens is when we become reactive and we forecast or anticipate worst case scenarios, we make reactive decisions today to try to solve problems we don't even have yet. And so I really want to remind you that if you're in that mindset of fear, if you're in the mindset of worry and unknown, what if it all worked out? What if everything was going to work out for you? And I think that when we have that mentality, we invest in the things that we know will create substantial results for us in a different way. And one of those things being the people that we bring onto our team and that we invest in to ultimately build and be our company. And so a lot of owners have that fear that I'm scared. What if I go all in? What if I invest in someone and they leave? And you also could ask yourself, well, what if I don't? And I think a lot of times what we do is we pull back right now in uncertain times on our people. And then we don't invest in them in the way that gives them all of the tools to become the kind of leaders that we expect of them to be. And we do the same thing with other kinds of investments and risks. I see it in coaching. Somebody asked me, what will you guarantee me if I coach with you? My question is, well, I can guarantee you if you don't, you'll be in the same situation you're in, right? And I think it's that mentality that, right, we can't put ownership on the things outside of us. We can't let the circumstances, we can't let the potentials and the scenarios of the things that we can't control dictate the way that we make decisions to produce results for us in our business and our life. That is up to us. Just like if I came to you and said, I want to get on a weight loss program, but how much weight are you going to guarantee I lose? Well, you can't guarantee that because there's so many variables. You can give me the framework, and then I need to put the steps in. I need to eat right. I need to live a clean life, right? That's on me. It's like, I don't go to Harvard. Harvard isn't going to say, come get our degree and we'll guarantee that you'll get a high paying job. That is up to the graduate to go and make that happen. And that is the same thing for us as business owners, ladies. It is up to us to invest wholly and fully into the things that are going to create the potential for us to be successful. And there will never be a guaranteed return on our investment. That is just not part of the game here. Okay. So anyway, I wanted to reintroduce this episode from back in July of 2022. I hope that this resonates for you and helps ease and put some perspective around that fear that so many of us have as owners of what happens when I go all in on an employee and then they leave. All right. Without further ado, please enjoy. Hi there. Welcome to the Fierce Factor podcast. I'm your host, Kaylee Lindholm. And I think it's time for us women to shift the conversation in business and step into our feminine leadership to do the most iconic work the aesthetic industry has ever seen. Each week, I'll be bringing a powerful dose of strategy, sarcasm, solutions, and sass that will rev up your creativity and ignite your brilliance as you link arms with me along our shared path of personal and professional growth in 20 minutes or less. Let's go. I just love showing up here with you every single week. And it's funny, some of you, Academy members in particular, talk with me about specific episode content, and we brain share ideas and controversies. And it's fun because I get to experience a dialogue around ideas that typically go out, in one direction, just me talking into a microphone about what's on my mind. And this is like therapy for me. I mean, who doesn't want to have a conversation with no pushback, hate mail, opinions? For the most part, people who don't agree with me over here, they just don't listen. But if I'm honest, at the same time, the feedback, the reviews, the shares, it really fuels me and encourages me to continue creating new content every single week. And I want to make it valuable. So if you're a listener and you do get value from this podcast, can I ask a favor? Can you head over to Apple Podcast and leave me a review? It is my goal to make this the #1 podcast in aesthetics, and your reviews and shares help not only spread the word, but also help with rankings and positioning among healthcare and business podcasts. I so appreciate you. And today, I have a basic message that really doesn't require a checklist. It doesn't really require much strategy or structure. This message comes from the heart, and it requires you to open your mind to a new way of thinking and to really slow down and bring into focus the bigger picture of what you're doing here. You see, I can Google and pull up 100 articles about the Great Resignation. I can walk into one restaurant and start a conversation with any manager about the challenge with staffing today. I could pull 30 hours of content from my own Pop Leadership Academy membership site and teach the tactics around hiring, firing, comp planning, performance management, and developing KPIs. And I do that. But I can assure you that the past 3 years of building my business have stimulated more headaches, more tears, and more uncertainty than ever in my life as a result of the nuances around team building and leadership, the God-given gift of leadership. And I know I'm not alone. I know this because I talk to women just like me every day. Women committed to building a business with a heartbeat, with a soul, with character, building a business that isn't about transactions, but instead about meaningful relationships and impact through commitment to a bigger mission than them. And today I had such a profound conversation around team building with one of our Academy members, and I just don't think I can talk about anything besides this right now. It was a moment of awareness that stung me instantly. And today I kind of want to take the business hat off for a minute to reframe what leadership actually means to me and why everything I teach redirects back to this core principle. So I'll tell a little story about back in 2012 when I was hired to sell aesthetic devices for one of the world's leading medical device companies. I had 7 years of sales experience under my belt. I had been a top performer at Bayer Healthcare in the diabetes division, and also with this same aesthetics company on the skincare side. But this was really my first go at selling capital equipment. And I was a hustler. I mean, I would work as late as I possibly could to find opportunities for deals. And I'm super competitive, so I would be the last one standing, let me tell you. And I remember tracking down this doctor who had several practice locations, and he was based out of Koreatown in Los Angeles. And I showed up every single week, sitting and waiting in his lobby. And I was going to do this until he finally accepted a meeting with me. And after months of driving up to his office and waiting around on his sunken couch in his cold, impersonal office, I think he began to see I was serious about showing up for him. Either that or he was just irritated that I was constantly there. I kind of started to earn his trust. I came in, I helped him with certain patient cases that were complex for him. I shared resources and I found answers for him that he couldn't really get from any other reps. And finally, the end of the quarter came and he decided he was going to invest in not only one, but 4 lasers, one for each location. And of course, I was the lucky one. I had been there. I'd earned his trust. He was like, I want to do a deal with you, Kaylee. And so my boss came out and we're like, okay, we're going to draft up this contract. We sort of came to this general agreement. So we made the offer and this doctor said he needed to think about it and get back to me. He kind of tried to negotiate a better offer. I went back to my manager and came back to the doctor with, here's our best and final. And the final week before the quarter ended, I drove up to LA to stalk him and collect this signed contract. And I was pretty much counting on these deals. As a capital sales rep, you get a quota. And if you don't hit that goal, you get fired. It's not like, Kaylee, how can we help you do a better job next time? No, it's like, good luck finding another job, Kaylee. It's real pressure. And I walked into his office and he looked at me and he was like, I'm sorry, Kaylee, but I'm going to wait. I just really can't make this investment right now. And I was pleading with him to just buy 2 instead of 4, and he just wasn't budging. He was like, it's just not going to work. I left so disappointed in myself. I mean, how could I have misread the signs? How could I have not been good enough to get the deal done? I'm brand new to this laser thing. I want to impress my boss. I'm just totally bummed out and disappointed in myself. And so kind of went back with my tail between my legs. And 3 days later, which happened to be the last day of the quarter, my boss calls me and he says, Kaylee, he was running up against his own quota. And he had these deals that I had sort of committed to him, in his pipeline. And so he was like, Kaylee, I'm going to throw in whatever I have left over of our region's T&E budget, travel and expenses, and marketing budget, whatever we can do to lower the cost for this doctor in Koreatown. So go tell him we were able to do what he asked for, and you finally have the paperwork and he's getting the deal he wants. I was like, tongue twisted. I was ecstatic. I think I drove 100 miles per hour with the top down, like, this girl's on fire, GMing up to LA. And if you're wondering why I didn't just call this doctor, it's because he never answered my calls. So in true laser rep fashion, I stalked him and then I hovered around until he spoke with me. That's just how we did it. It's how things roll. And so it was 4 p.m. on Friday, end of quarter, and I just blew through his front door, elated with this news I was about to give him. And I was like, doctor, I was able to get the deal for you. And he looked at me and I was like, here I am, out of breath, sweating, flying through the door. And I dropped the paperwork on his desk and I'm like, let's go. And he paused for what felt like an entire 3 minutes, looking at me and then at the papers and then back up at me. And he said, Kaylee, I can't believe you're pulling this. I was like looking at him like I didn't really understand what he was saying. And he's like, I can't believe you're doing this. And here I thought you had integrity. And I was like, I do have integrity. I found a way to get you the best deal. And he said, I thought you already did that. How do I know another deal isn't coming later? How am I supposed to trust you? And I just felt completely empty. And he was like, I'm not doing this deal. It's over. I already told you that. And now you're coming to me with another deal. I don't even know how I can trust you. Hey, leader. I know the journey to building your greatest potential can feel overwhelming. You're setting big goals, navigating resistance, and trying to stay true to who you are in the process. That's exactly why I created the Fierce Factor Society. This isn't just another membership, it's a launch pad where ambitious women like us come together to grow, lead, and thrive. It's a space to take those big dreams and make them real step by step with the support and tools you need to succeed. If you've ever felt like you were made for more but didn't know exactly which step to take next, the Society is your space to access the tools, strategies, and support to unlock your next level of leadership. Let's do this together. Visit klcconsultants.com/Fierce Factor Society to learn more. Can't wait to see you there. I was begging him and I walked out the door. I could feel my heart pounding and my jaw starting to quiver. And I was completely empty. I stumbled into my car and I started bawling uncontrollably. And I couldn't believe someone had questioned my integrity. And I literally had nothing but the best of intentions. And so Here, not only do I not have a deal, but I've lost earned trust with a potential client before I've even earned their business. And I finally calmed myself down. So I'm like, I got to pull this together. And I went back inside and I was able to reason with him. I got the deal, but I didn't celebrate that win. And my company made me look like a hero internally. I think I got some award, Rolex. I don't even know. I got all kinds of stuff, but I felt like a nobody. And I remember calling my dad and telling him about this. And he said to me, Kaylee, at the end of the day, all you have is your reputation. Remember that. You aren't here to sell lasers or skincare or blood glucose monitors. You're here for a bigger purpose. So stay focused on that mission. Jobs will come and go, but meaningful relationships will follow you anywhere you go. And I took that to heart. I honestly believe living by that credo has been the catalyst for success that has had meaning for me. Like many of my colleagues were what you would consider turn and burn laser reps, and they did really well. But I was well respected among my client community. And I think that's really what got me promoted into leadership roles. It was focusing on the things that mattered. And nothing has changed for me. Well, I haven't thought about that story in probably years. It came to mind today as I shared that powerful moment with our Academy client when she asked me a question. She was really excited about her business has just been catapulted this year. She's gone from, I think in 9 months, 2 employees to 8 employees, and she's starting to hire other injectors to support her. And she just hired a new nurse. And she was like, had a vulnerable moment with me. And she said, Kaylee, what if I train my new nurse and she leaves? And I can count on one hand the number of clients we've worked with that haven't had that thought. It's a reality. And yes, it does happen. And it happens a lot. But we can also get married and then get divorced, right? We can lose a sibling like I did, or have your house burned down like I did, or get injured like I did, or have a falling out with our best friend. That's the point of life. It's about the human experience. It's about going all in and allowing ourselves the grace to fail, to lose, to make mistakes. There is no guarantee. And for this client, she hired a brand new injector with essentially zero experience because she was absolutely the right fit for the business's culture, because she was aligned with the vision, because she could be all in with her on her mission, because she trusted her character and she really believed in her. And that's all anyone can ask. And for me, it's not always about making the right decision. Sometimes it's about making the decision right. And one surefire way to guarantee that you will train an employee and they will leave you is to dip your toe in with them, not give them the tools to succeed, and then wait for them to eliminate themselves. Then yes, you've created a self-fulfilling prophecy. You will train someone and they will leave you. But what if you go all in and they leave? What if you've invested hours of your time? What if you've invested financially, right? These are legitimate concerns. What if you told all of your patients that she will be the next best thing since sliced bread? What if you put her in front of the world and then she leaves? I'll tell you what, you learn, you grow, you get stronger. Why is it so acceptable to make an investment in a $150,000 aesthetic device with no guarantee of success, but we measure the uncertain investment in human capital as a taboo or sometimes catastrophic risk? Leader, hiring and learning how to hire better are part of your growth journey as a leader. Team building is a gift from God. Just like my dad told me when that doctor in Koreatown questioned my integrity, bring the bigger mission into focus. That is the same lesson I've leaned on in my business, and I coach my clients through when they question their intrinsic value in the hiring process. Think about when you're 85 years old and rocking on your porch, reflecting on your life. You might say, oh, wow, that was awesome that I became a self-made millionaire. But then your mind will move on and you'll think of the people in your life that you had the opportunity to mentor, to invest in, to show them what's possible, to challenge them to think differently about themselves and their ability to impact the world. I know for me, I can name to this day the handful of people in my life who truly saw me. They took a risk on me. They invested in me and believed in me. And there's no amount of money that can create that. Their legacy will live on forever in my heart, and I will never forget the way that they shaped my life. And I don't know about you, but as much as I love making money, the reward of watching the people I interact with become just a little better as humans, just a little more confident, a little more aligned with their own purpose, a little more intentional, that makes the risk of losing my time and money on a few bad eggs worth it. The gift of leadership is the golden pot at the end of the rainbow. And at the end of the day, all you have, as my dad would say, is your reputation. So go pay it forward, make an impact, and make a name for yourself so the people who are worth it can and will link arms with you and help you achieve that bigger mission. Hire that nurse, train that manager, build that internship program, do the thing. Listen, leader, if you're vibing with me here, hang tight because I have a brand new resource for you. You are a successful, confident, powerful woman who just isn't into being average. No, you have a calling, and part of that calling is requiring you to level up. And I know that if you're working to cross the next $1 million milestone in your business, you need to be in the right circles. And perhaps that's why you found us. I'd love to invite you to join The Blueprint, a weekly resource for inspired, provocative thinkers who are taking this conversation to the next level. Get access to free business tools, podcast supplements, guideposts, and direct communication with me and my expert team. And of course, a masterfully curated circle of women making big moves and disrupting the status quo in aesthetics and wellness. You can link directly through the show notes or head to klcconsultants.com/blueprint. It's time to elevate. See you there, goddess.